we're gonna move to phrase connectors. Okay. Now let's read the direction just to make sure we have this right. Select the phrase or connector from the given three options which can be used to form a single sentence from the two sentences given below, and implying the same meaning expressed in the statement sentences. Okay, so very important, right? So let's look at the first question that we have, and let's see how we need to move this forward, right? In this context, it's functioning as a noun form, right? I have great what? I respect you. There it's a verb form. It's the action word, right? I respect you. So the feeling that I have towards you is respect. Yes, I have great respect for you. Yes. In grammatical construction, the respect can act as a noun, it can act as a verb also, right? So I'm saying when it acts as a noun, the preposition that gets associated with it is usually for, because in terms of collocation, you've heard people say, I have respect for someone or something. That's what I'm saying, right? It's a little technical and advanced in terms of usage, because these are all very, what do I say? You'll have to be thorough with your grammar, and grammar is so vast, right? Everything, you just can't say 1 + 1 is 2. There will be so many dimensions within that context of 1 + 1. When it comes to English is what I'm saying. There is no formula. There is no set rule. Even if there is a rule, there will be an exception, right? So, which means we have to know everything only based on, we can't even go by, common usage again, because just because everybody is saying it doesn't mean it's right. That's a different argument, right? Let's not get into all that. Let's just keep it simple and plain. Look up a lot of example sentences and you'll understand why it is used in a certain way. So there are several psychological studies which suggest that attitudes can positively or negatively affect a person's behavior. So this is sentence 1, right? Sentence 2 says a person may not always be aware of his or her attitude or the effect it has on behavior. So if you look at these phrase connectors, there are a couple of ways. I've already taken this up. It's available in your video library as well for you to go and check out the strategies. But it's good for us to understand, how we can approach or attempt these questions, right? So one is some of the directions are very clear in terms of, hey, you know what, we want these options that they have given to be at the beginning of the sentence, right? There are different variations. It'll be specific. It should start in the beginning of the sentence, or I can put it in between, or basically I'm saying use the given options to connect these two sentences and retain meaning, right? So which means I need to be very good in terms of sentence structure, in terms of having the ability to combine sentences without affecting meaning, right? Those are some of the things that I need to be really good at. And sentence connectors does not pertain only to conjunctions. We can add, and some of the flexibility that you have is to add other words, remove, repeat words that give repetitive meaning, right? So if you look at these sort of phrase connectors, some of the steps that you need to look at is, hey, what are some of the repeat words and phrases which I can remove, where when I connect these two sentences, the meaning will still be retained, right? That's one step that you can always constantly keep in mind. 2 is, we're also looking at the options and we're saying, how is it possible to even do this? So I'm going to project it again. My first step, or what I would request you to do is, can you look at these two sentences and say what are some of the repeat words or phrases that are repeated in meaning which I can, actually eliminate, because I'm going to combine these two sentences, right? I don't want the same words or to repeat. So can you identify that first for me before we move forward? Let's go step by step, because a lot of you have challenges with these questions, right? Approaching these questions, attempting these questions. So let's go step by step. Step 1, tell me, according to you, attitude, yes, behavior, okay. Anything else? Attitude and behavior, okay. Yeah, so you've got that right? So you have attitude Attitude, behavior, behavior. These are my repeat words. Attitude and behavior. Okay. So now let's look at our options. Okay. Let's go point by point. So when I club these two sentences, let's start with option A. Option A says, hey, the behavior of a person has. So what is the context? I'm sure you understood the meaning, right? There are several psychological studies which suggest that attitudes can positively or negatively affect a person's behavior. So I'm understanding the context. Basically, it's saying there are some psychological studies that have told us, boss, the behavior that you display, the outcome, the result of your action is the cause is the attitude that you have. If you have a positive attitude, your behavior will be positive. If you have a negative attitude, your behavior will be negative. That's what the context is saying, right? What is the second sentence saying? A person may not always be aware of his or her attitude or the effect it has on behavior. So we already know that statement 1 is saying your behavior is a result of your attitude. And the second sentence is saying just that, same thing. You may not even be aware that there is a connection between the two. That's what the second sentence is saying, right? We have an idea. Yeah? Affect and effect in terms of usage, meaning is not much of a difference. It's just that effect is a noun, right? And effect is a verb. Me scoring low marks in the exam has affected me severely. Verb. So the behavior of a person has what? I cannot actually use these two sentences and do this, right? It just doesn't make sense. What about option B? Don't be so hasty. Let's look at, we're going point by option by option. Option A is out of the question. The behavior of a person has done something. I really cannot combine because I understood the meaning of these two sentences. What about option B? It has become. There are various ways in which I can connect. I can say which suggests that, right? So it has become, let's say, I'm just randomly going, okay? So I can say it has become apparent. Apparent meaning obvious, okay? It has become apparent from what? From several psychological studies. So that it has become is giving me this meaning which suggests that. It has become apparent from several psychological studies that what? That attitudes can positively or negatively affect a person's behavior. And, right, I'm just going to write the whole thing, that attitudes, this whole thing, till behavior, okay. So it has become apparent from several psychological studies that attitude can positively or negatively affect a person's behavior. And that's a conjunction that I'm using to connect the next sentence, right? And the person may not always be aware of this. That's it. I don't have to repeat the whole thing. Attitudes positively or negatively affect a person's behavior. It's understood that your behavior is an outcome of the attitude that you have, which is the same thing as the effect it has on behavior. The what attitude? So, and the person may not always, that whole thing, always be aware of this. That's it. So I can eliminate the repetitiveness in the two sentences and still retain meaning. So in fact, I can use option B and connect these two sentences which continues to give me meaning. So I'm saying it has become apparent, it has become obvious, it has become clear, boss, from what? From several psychological studies that what? Attitudes can positively or negatively affect a person's behavior. And just so you know that the person may not even be aware of this. May not be aware of what? That attitudes actually affect your behavior. And that's the same thing that this sentence says, right? Her attitude or effect it has on the behavior. They have no knowledge of this. That's what it says, right? There are different ways in which you can connect the two sentences using option B, and it is possible because it is retaining meaning. So option B, yes, I can do that. But option C, the awareness of attitude having a direct blah blah blah, you can add words, right? You're adding words to make meaning. So I'm adding not just conjunctions, I'm adding other words. It has become clear, it has become, so which suggests that, right? even though I may not take direct words from the questions, but I'm using phrases which mean the same. So when I say apparent, obvious, clear is equivalent, that's why I pointed an arrow, right? It has become apparent is talking about which suggests that. What is this which suggests that? This is what it is, clear. This is what it is, obvious. This is what it is suggesting. Because the studies have proved that, right? The studies are giving me some sort of a reason for why this is the case. The behavior of a person has been affected positively or negatively by attitudes. And even that sentence is too long and it's kind of incorrect. See, when you say the behavior of a person has been affected, you're talking about an action that started in the past and is continuing up till now. But here they are stating a general fact, right? Which means I can't bring in a perfect tense. I can't even use that has been affected. So are you saying that that wasn't the case in the past, or that's not going to be the case in the future? Right? So it's an incorrect tense. Because the context is talking about, hey, the studies have proved something, that this is the case. It's a fact. So when it's a fact, right, I can't say has been, which is your sentence? Yeah, has been affected. Which means, are you saying that it will no longer be, the case in the future? It's just a study that has been done and it is revealing a fact. And this is the fact, right? So it has become clear, it has become whatever, right? So that, which suggests that it's not complicated because you don't know what are your options. Your options are, I'm telling you your options, right? One of your options are, I can add words as long as the words are substituting other phrases in the given context, right? You can't bring in completely different words out of the context. So when I say which suggests that is equal to obvious, clear, because as the studies are revealing that, right? That's a fact. It's very apparent, right? So something that is equivalent to a phrase within the two sentences, yes, you can definitely substitute or bring in other words. But you cannot bring in a word or other words that are out of these two sentences, the context of these two sentences. And of course, you have to add conjunctions to link the two sentences, and that's what we've done. We've added and. But again, option C is out of the question. The awareness of, and then I am not able to form a sentence to connect the two sentences. Okay, so for me, if you ask me, the answer will be, in fact, only option B.